Welcome to another live stream. Well, it's our time to get together and talk about group harassment. Talk about gang stalking. The gang stalking slaughterhouse. Yeah, we're going to get into the motive. A lot of people wonder about that. What the hell's going on anyway? Well, we're going to look at that. That's that's one of the things that really racks the brains of targeted individuals. What's the point of any of this anyway? Why am I dealing with this? If the gaslighting is true, it doesn't make any sense, and then the gaslighting is a huge part, of the menagerie of this little game that you're playing as a targeted individual, and it's important to know that a lot of those things are there to manipulate you. The gaslighting never ends. People who experience group harassment are dealing with that exponentially. I mean, everybody really is dealing with it. When you look at this whole platform that you're on, everybody's buying into lies. They're either blind, bewildered, or bewitched, right? And there's people that know about this stuff. There's people who have no idea that it exists. Okay. There's people that are in on it though. But the targets, they are the small minority. You are the odd person out. Right? It wouldn't work any other way. Right? And the creation of this little stage that the target is on, it feels like that for them too. I've talked about that before. Yeah, it's like they want to make everything so it's not real. I mean, everything is fake. Okay, and does that mean that it's an illusion or some kind of hologram? That's not what I mean. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about everything else. The perceptions, what people perceive everything to be, right? Their expectations, everything, all these things, they're lies. People are told lies, right? The lies your teacher told you, the lies your parents told you, the lies your friends told you, right? The lies people told you at work, but you believed it, right? And then you found out what was really going on, but on a level where it's just you, okay? And targeted individuals will be accused of being self-centered, right? They'll be accused of just processing everything in a schizophrenic way, where they're the center of the universe. Of course, they want you to believe that. That's the whole point, right? Because they want you to get to that place where you're your own handler, right? The whole thing is designed that way. The framework is created in a way where they attack you, they get you into that place, they set you up, you're attacked, you're traumatized, you have all that adrenaline, and then of course all the associations come out of that. They're feeding on it, right? It's a feeding frenzy, or is it? Are you going to let them? A lot of people will speculate about that. Is it it's all the adrenaline that you got going. It's you're angry. They're stealing all your joy or whatever, and they're eating it. The hive that controls all these people, these sock puppets that you're dealing with. They're waiting. They're invisible, but they're there, and they're just waiting to manipulate you, to move you around on this game board and take possession of you, to feed on all the negative things that are provoking your emotions, and all the things that they're convincing the people to do. and pushing them into conformity and corrupting them. You're a commodity. People, they look at this whole thing and they try to figure out the logistics of it. Right. Well, what is it? It's a government program, and the target individuals are guinea pigs because the elite, they just want to control what's part of it. That's part of it. That's actually a fraction of it. Okay. Well, it's the psychic vampires. They're feeding on you. It's the witches and all this other stuff. Well, okay, well, that's part of it too. But that's more of an illusion, right? Because you can't let anybody know that there's a spiritual reality, right? If it was all that obvious, well, that'd be a problem. I talked about that in the last live stream. People involved in Satanism, they were told, I think it was around 1970, according to this guy who defected, who was going to be some type of high priest Satanist, that they needed to obfuscate the spiritual reality of mankind, and they were going to use evolution and science and psychiatry to do it. Right? And they were going to use that to afflict people. And what happens to targets? Well, you're just crazy. Oh, you don't understand what I'm dealing with. You don't understand what happened to me yesterday when I went to work, on the commute to work, in the store after work. You don't understand the things that I'm dealing with. It's like the whole world has gone crazy. Oh, no, you're the one that's crazy. You're just experiencing the sequelae of a mental disorder, a disease, right? But the people involved in the occult, well, they're buying into another lie, right? They might think they're feeding on you. Really, they're getting something from their handlers, from the demonic hive, right? Or maybe it's just that they get left alone. It depends. I've seen a lot of different individuals involved in this, and some of them they have different things going on. Some of them will just admit that they're feeding on you. They might even say something like that, or you'll get little comments while they're attacking you, like bees around the honeycomb. Having some nectar, num num. Oh, this is fun. They're going to rub it in your face, right? Because they want to provoke you. They got to get you emotional. Their worst nightmare is somebody who knows what's going on. They see the seasoned target walking down the street, unless they got blood coming off them, they just go the other way. Especially, at the level where they're dealing with a high form of possession or some type of extra dimensional knowledge where they can see the things that you've been through. Right? They seem to know all these things. They seem to have all this information on targets, right? Which we're going to talk about that. There's a huge contradiction there too. They know. Some of you guys have been out there for a long time. They don't want a piece of that. No. There's culpability that goes along with this. Most of them are blind. And the whole thing sounds nuts. But it is. It forces the target to live a fake existence. You're just pretending to be normal now. Right? You have to. You don't have a choice. Right? They want to turn you into a freak. You're dealing with that isolationism that is a part of every target's existence. You've been blacklisted. You're the odd person out. It's just back in the ancient times. It was like a type of segregation. They'd put all the lepers on an island. All right, you get out there. You can't be part of this anymore. Well, targets, no, they just know, and some of this stuff it doesn't have anything to do with intimate knowledge. A lot of it's just a part of the structure. It's part of the framework of the world that you're in. All these things demonstrate fundamental realities. They've been twisted and perverted. So, whereas it would be legitimate, for example, maybe if you want to look at the Israelites or something, to where one of the people, or church discipline, one of the people starts living in a way where they shouldn't do it, and they get confronted with it, right? And and they don't change, and they get confronted again, or they deny it, and then what happens? They get excommunicated. They get thrown out. That's a fundamental reality that you are dealing with in this framework. It's like the outer darkness, right, of God's kingdom. Within, the blessing; without, it's all the bad stuff. It's everything you don't want. Except in this world, it's all flipped around to the point where the people who are on the inside, which is it's a very short period of time we're dealing with, we have all that stuff, but you can't. You're missing out. You're the one that's been excommunicated. They believe it, right? And they get to control it for a while. Well, yeah, it's going to flip back around, and of course that's going to be eternal. This is just temporal, but it's a fundamental reality. The isolationism, the target, all of a sudden people are just treating you different. Well, I thought you offered me a job. Oh yeah, well, we got a job for you. Oh yeah, we got a job for you. All right. What are you talking about? What's all that about? Oh, nothing. I'll help you out. Yeah, we'll help you. And you get all these, street theater, theatrical little games, directed conversations, and everything. You're just like, what's up with everybody? What's going on, man? My fly undone or something? What the hell? Did somebody tell you a rumor? And the target is dealing with that. It's like everywhere they go. Well, let's see what's going on out there. I want to see what you guys are talking about. And I picked a bunch of moderators, and unfortunately, if you guys don't comment on my videos, or something after we're dealing with a live stream, I can't make you a moderator. And we've got like, I don't know, 10 of them now. And I went through, and I don't think we've got Ernie. Oh, welcome to the live stream, Dublin. Welcome, Rudy. Crystal is Roya Hayabusa. Welcome. Energy vampires, he says. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get into that, man, because targets are like, what the hell? Why? Not only is it contradictive to the gaslighting, but it's confusing. But there is a reason. And we're gonna, I'll just throw it out there. You're being processed, right? You are being processed, period. And you're being used like a piece of meat to propagate an agenda and scare the shit out of anybody who won't conform. Okay, there's the experimental stuff. I mean, I'm not going to deny the government programs. I'm not going to deny, the chain of command. Where we get into that, where you've got the spiritual dimension, then you've got the government stuff, you've got the private investigating firms, you get all the the underlings and the sock puppets, the fraternities, the people who get drawn in. There's a way it works, and there's a huge amount of options. Okay, but ultimately, it's to create that menagerie that's out there to deceive, to create that illusion. We've got crazy people here. They're not. No, they're not. They're not. No, they're not dealing with harassment. No. No, you need meds. Well, you're suffering from a persecutory delusion. That's crazy talk. No. And they use targets for that, to further that agenda. To scare the people who would dare say anything or try to go to the light. Try to reach out in truth and worship God in the spirit and truth. So what the Bible says, you're being processed. Everybody is going to be processed. You are the commodity. Okay, you are. People talk about witchcraft or the occult or whatever. They're out. They got the altar. They've got you. Okay, and it's not just the obvious idiots who do that kind of stuff. There's a whole lot of different levels involved in this demonic hive that's on the planet. People would say that sounds nuts, but it's not. And then the targets that deal with this stuff know what I'm talking about. They've been thrown on that altar in their family. They're the scapegoat. They're taking everybody's negative emotions. They're puking it out on you. Everything is your fault. Doesn't matter what's going on. They come looking for you, or at the workplace or whatever. Now, targets are that. That's all. That's one of the things that they use targets for. It's like the glue that holds everybody together. If there's something negative, if you're in a bad mood, just go throw it, project it onto them. You want to be one of them? Go ahead and defy the horde, the hive. Go against the grain like a bunch of starlings flying together in unison. One of them gets out of whack. Well, you can always join them. The secret societies are the same way. They have all those oaths. You can't tell the difference between Satanism, witchcraft, or some of the rituals in high Freemasonry. The stuff that's on the lower levels, that looks normal. They have to keep it that way, but it's not. You're being processed. You're worth more than you know. When you get into this whole thing, you look back and people don't understand. Jesus came to, because I'm a sinner, and how'd that happen? Well, what do you mean? Why, when you get into the order of Zadok, when you get into the prophecies of the Bible, they knew and they lied about it. They covered that up. A lot of the Jews don't know that the whole thing all along, even when you get into some of the scriptures that mix the glory of God with the image of a man, right? They lied about that. They were called the sons of darkness, the Pharisees, the Sadducees. All of them were fighting. And the Essenes, the order of Zadok, they went down to Egypt, but all those things were covered up. That's why when Jesus was rebuking some of them, a lot of people, they'll say, well, it's because they were just jealous of Jesus. They wanted to get rid of him. Well, it was more than that. When he called them the synagogue of Satan, he was calling them, there was a reason for it. And when he rebuked them in John 6, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am because you were not taught of God and of the prophets, right? You have no idea who I am. And he tried to let them know. Right? He tried to show them that this day, this scripture is fulfilled in your ears. You're seeing it happen. Look, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But they didn't know. Right? They were given that illusion. Right? And it all goes back to who you are. Adam was the image bearer for God on the planet. Okay. That's why when you get into the book of Revelations and other places, or when you look at Psalm 82 or Deuteronomy 32:8, you are going to be ruling with Christ after this whole thing is over, or you're going to be in hell. You're going to be processed. Okay, you're you're either going to be reconciled to God, or you're going to go with the devil to the pit. Period. Forever. Okay, and they've created this little testing ground because they have a vested interest in doing it, and this is all they got before that happens. You're a commodity. You're being processed. They want you to believe the lie, and if they can't do that, they want to drive you crazy or make you hate God or get you to do something. and they want to deceive everybody else, and they're using the cotton candy of the world to accomplish it. Oh no, the secret knowledge and the hidden wisdom. You're going to be one of the elite. You want to be part of the Illuminati? Oh, we're special. Yeah, you can be part of the Freemasons. You can get up to the 33rd degree, and you'll have everything. You'll have money, you'll have power, you'll have all this world has to get. Right? Don't worry about it. Or you can be one of them. Oh no. Oh, you don't want that. That's what this is. That's why you're dealing with it. You're that guy stuck to the cooler. They put you on the dartboard, man. And it's more than that. Sometimes there's a multi level of reasons involved in this where people are being experimented on. Okay, they're dealing with all kinds of stuff. It's like MK Ultra, but at the end of the day, you go all the way back down. You go all the way underneath, and look at what's controlling all these sock puppets, all these government programs, all this stuff, all these people who are all being processed. Most of them are probably going to go to hell. When your handlers are attacking you, when the people are harassing you, when they've got all this stuff going on, they're sealing their fate. Yeah, it sucks. They're making fun of you, they're laughing, whatever. They're playing their games. You're isolated. You're dealing with the torture. It seems like you're missing out, but it's all part of it. And if that's why I've said many times, without God, you're not going to make it. You have to know that. If you don't believe in the spiritual reality of where you came from and where you're headed and where you're at, you might as well conform. There wouldn't be any hope. Oh, you're waiting for a lawsuit? When you look at all the secret societies, look at the control they have over everything. And you're just some guy you're gonna go wear a sign, or you're gonna lead a coup d'etat to get the right president in? It's never worked. Look at history. People that believe that are ignorant. There's so much more going on. There's so much more at stake than whatever you've got left in this world. It's ridiculous to believe something like that. That's just tyranny anyway. There'd be no point. You got to live by faith. Let's see what else is out there. Okay. Jose, I missed you. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, I would have made you a moderator, but I couldn't find any of your comments, man. We're going to need a moderator. Okay, Tanya Bauer. Well, welcome. All right, let's see some comments here. Got my got my magnifying glass out here. Okay, Crystal says, "Yeah, my dude de facto. I'll pray for you and everyone. Yeah, I need it. I've been going through some wild stuff. You guys are, it says here, yeah, my dude is saving lives. Well, I hope I am. I hope I'm helping people out, and I hope that that I'm having a positive effect. And I pray about that too. I mean, I know I've been through some pretty wild stuff, and sometimes I fear that when I talk about it, I'm dragging people into a nightmare. But really, I've been accused of furthering people's psychosis or whatever. Is there really any help out there? I mean, if you're processing information correctly, and if you're really looking at what you're dealing with, hypothetically, we'll say that there was someone who was mentally ill, and they just, they had an episode or whatever, that episode of significance that led to the psychosis or whatever, and their little, diagnostic criteria, and this person just starts reading into everything, right? Well, what's the way out? You got to process the information, right? You got to process it correctly. Targets have to do that, right? I talk about having a strict criteria. If you have an obvious day of harassment where it's just over the top and there's, There's just no way to look at it any other way. Thank God for that. Remember that, right? But if you're just, looking at, red cars or one headlights or, well, that's not how you do this. And if somebody was, reading into something, obviously with being honest with yourself, you're going to come out of it. Is it, do they need drugs? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. I've heard people say that if a target is dealing with a gangstalking experience, obviously the medication isn't going to do anything for you, is it? Because it has nothing to do with that. Not that I really believe there's any out there that would, stop any of that anyway. I don't know. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a doctor. I'm my own doctor by default. That's why it's called Doctor de facto. But those people are just perps anyway. They come in here and they harass people and they provoke them and they make fun of them and they make videos about them and they're mean and they're hostile and nasty. And then they accuse you of hurting someone. Is it really? Really? Yeah. And it's like some of those guys out there, the perps like Gorilla Boy. If he was really as smart as he thinks he is, he would have at least been nice to people, right? He would have. He would have been nice to people in a way where they would have at least, communicated with him or something else, right? But he didn't do that. And he's abrasive, and he wonders why nobody's going to get a hold of him. Nobody's going to talk to him. Nobody will. They're afraid of, clicking the link or whatever. Well, of course they are. Right? The guy's so abrasive and hostile, sending, pornographic, the videos to people and everything. But of course, he just wants to help everybody. How do you believe something like that? How can you say something like that with a straight face? But you do. You have the handlers. Some people are just more obvious than others. Let's go out there. Charlie Wilson, welcome to the live stream. And we still don't have one of the many moderators that I put out there. My gosh. I thought for sure at least one of them would show up. And of course, I always get criticized because I don't, I don't post when this is going to come out. Some people get mad at me. It's like, why don't you learn how to schedule these? I don't schedule them for a reason. You got to be kidding me. you got a bunch of targeted individuals, and they're like, oh no, you got to let all the perps in the world know that you're going to do a live stream. That's how you do it. I'm sorry, but that's not the way this works. You'll have to watch it later. The Hollywood targeted individual. How you doing today? Everything okay? Oh yeah. What do you got all those cameras up for? Oh, I don't know. You just never can be too safe, And you don't want to try to explain this stuff. That's one of the worst things a target can do. And anybody out there to instruct you otherwise is either just blind or they're baiting you. Okay, and some of the channels out there, I don't know. I mean, I don't name names. I don't make accusations, but I'm gonna tell you right now, some of the advice that they're given, horrible advice. You don't confront gang stalkers. That's what they love. You don't give them any reaction at all, and you don't go trying to explain this to people, right? Because of what happens if you do, that's just another way to get you locked up. It starts that chain reaction. You're putting your foot right inside the meat grinder of this processing plant, right? The slaughterhouse of gang stalking. That's what it is. And all of it works together. It's all a complementary system. It's a synergistic chain reaction, right? You get attacked. You get set up, you get attacked, you move into the trauma, you form the associations, you're in flight or fight mode, right? It's invaded your mind. And then, you become dysfunctional. You become dysregulated. You get to that point where you start, spiraling, right? Because you don't know what's happening. You don't know who you can trust. You have to regulate your life. You have to rebuild the foundations of what you're dealing with because it's all torn down. Your social structure, everything. That you're getting attacked at work. You don't know what to think. You're dealing with noise campaigns. You're dealing with all this, and you don't know. You don't know what's happening. You try to tell somebody what's going on, they're either in on it or they don't know what the hell you're talking about. They're going to think you're nuts or you're going to get baited by a perp. You're up to your knee already. Yeah, you're getting close. Somebody else finds out about it or you get provoked because it's not going to go away. It's not going to stop, right? And then you start getting emotional. You're dealing with the insomnia. You might even get covertly drugged. You're starting to shake. You've always got adrenaline going through your body. You're looking over your shoulder. You don't know what to do. You can't relax. Your morale is constantly being sucked, right? I mean, everything is in a downward spiral at that point. And what are they going to do? They're going to provoke you into that depression, hopelessness, and into that solution mode where you got to solve it. And of course, they're clever too. Not only are you being attacked, but you're dealing with the disinformation. You're dealing with all that theater. Well, if somebody was messing with me, I tell you what I'd do. I'd get a gun and start shooting them. Oh, really? You ain't got enough bullets. Horrible advice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're up to your waist now. You got angry. You confronted one of them, and now you're in trouble. People are looking at you funny at work. The people who don't know anything about it, they already think you're nuts. So now they're drawn into it. You don't know if they're in on it or not. You can't tell if they're stalkers or just, you don't know who's who. You're moving on up to your chest. They want to package you up and throw you up in the cooler. Gangstalking slaughterhouse. It's beyond your ability. Let's see who else is out there. Pamela Barone, welcome. Okay. Looks like you guys have a bit of a dialogue out there. Ernie says he was betrayed by family. Well, yeah. And that's part of the illusion too, right? Let's get back to that a little bit. Okay. I was watching a video the other day about a kid who he gets in an altercation with his girlfriend and ends up killing her. Okay. Horrible thing to do. Right. But of course he didn't know what to do now. She freaks out on him. He becomes angry. She gets hurt. And of course, it's like mice and men. He just wants to keep her quiet. But of course, she won't do it. He freaks out, and the whole thing escalates. He ends up killing her. So now what's he do? And to make it worse, he didn't plan on killing her, and so the whole thing is just even worse because now she's gargling and sitting there on the ground, flailing around at seizures and everything, and he's just panicking, and more emotions come. So he's just got to keep her quiet. Ends up taking a shovel to her, and it was a real horrible thing to even fathom. I'm listening to this guy, his confession. He's in tears. I'm not saying you should feel sorry for him. I'm just saying this is the way all this works. And then, what's he got? He's got to bury the body. So he buries it, covers it up, and then he tries to cover his tracks. Of course, he didn't plan any of it. It's like a nightmare. It doesn't even seem real anymore. Her parents are looking for her. Everybody's looking for her. Nobody knows what's going on. And then, of course, the whole thing blows up. Right, the cops are like, "Wait a minute, your story's, what were you doing? What's going on? You're lying. We've got you." Okay, and then of course, he has to come out. he's okay. You got me. He tells the whole horrible story and confesses to the whole thing. But he's like, well, my mom and dad, they still love me, right? So he calls them from the jail cell, right? They showed the conversation, and his parents are just, well, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Why are you guys acting so weird? I thought aren't you gonna come and see me down here? No, we're gonna come down. A lot of people would say, well, they just don't know what to do. Well, really? They weren't Christian. Getting back to the point, is it an illusion for people who need to be spiritually reborn? That's what the Bible says. You're spiritually dead to not really be able to love each other. Is that really hard to fathom? All the people that are around you in your little scenario, all the things that are happening. One of the things that I've talked about before, you got a facade. You got an illusion around you, and everybody's playing, oh, we're all having a little tea party. I love you, you love me. But they don't even know what love is. They haven't. They've forgotten about all the stuff that's going on around them. It's all ridiculous. It's a game. It's a facade, and all the things that one of the benefits that a targeted individual has is some of that stuff gets broken off you. You say, well, I don't know. I'm just kind of living a lie. You find out who the people are that are around you, whether it's your friends or your family or whoever. Do they really have the capacity to do that, or is that more of an illusion? Targeted individuals find out. The kid found out. His parents didn't really care about him. He was like a painting that they had plastered on the wall of their house. Right? We're normal. Oh, we love people. If we don't have kids, John, they're gonna think we're morbid. All our neighbors, we got to keep up with the Joneses. We've got to fit in at the country club. If we just have a dog or a cat, they'll think we're weird. We've got to have a baby. And then Junior's born. They don't raise him right, and he ends up out, partying on, Friday nights, on the weekends, getting into drugs, indoctrinated at school, and then he kills his girlfriend, and they just drop him like a bad habit. People don't have the capacity. They're living a lie. It's an illusion. The people involved in witchcraft, they think they're feeding on you. They're creating their own hell, right? And it's one thing to overpay at a restaurant, right? I mean, it's one thing to spend $100 on a plate of food. What are you doing for that? What are you giving away for all that stuff when you're in that high, level of Freemasonry? What exactly are you signing on to anyway? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to get all this stuff. Well, you're going to get something, all right. You're not going to like it, though. All right, let's go back in here and see what's going on. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just reading Healthy Mind here. You got some comments. Level of noise am I too loud? Is that what you guys are saying? Is the volume too loud or something? Or are you talking about something else? Anyway, I must have missed that one. Well, Mr. Beach Walker, we finally got a moderator. Welcome. Welcome. Glad to see you're here. Oh, thank you, Pamela. Thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like Dublin's talking about the about the different denominations again. Well, she likes everybody. That's not a bad quality. I anytime you get into an ism, you're dealing with something that's usually not biblical. I'm not even going to go there. Okay. All right. Well, that's nothing is exempt from this menagerie either, by the way. It's everywhere. It is the hive. How does it all fit together? What's the framework? Well, like I said, you got the spiritual side of it, and it moves down to the sock puppets, right? All of a sudden, the target, their world is thrown into a nightmare. People are avoiding them. There's all kinds of ways that this works. They're getting persecuted. It's a logistical nightmare, right? And anytime you take out the spiritual dimension, you're throwing it all off. That's one of the things that fits into the illusion. You have to obfuscate the spiritual reality, not only of gang stalking, but of you, of people in general. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of what I'm talking about when it comes to the psychiatric agenda and targets. It takes two people to have a disease when it comes to psychiatry, right? Normally that's not the case. Okay, if you're sick, you're sick. But when it comes to these mental diagnoses, you have to be violating some norm or be put in a bad light, which is easy to do when people are being gang stalked. And now, of course, you're crazy. That's ideological possession. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some legitimate stuff going on in psychology and psychiatry. I'm saying that most of it's not. There's a few good doctors out there. I've met like, I don't know, 3 in my life, and I've seen a lot of them. And the people that have been targeted since childhood, they want to discredit you right away. It's not hard to do now. You just got to be a kid in school who wants to, chew bubble gum in class and talk too much. You got ADD, maybe a little bit of Asperger's or something. I don't know. Let's dope them up. Let's get him on some drugs. Yeah. Oh, what? You had a random stranger come up to you and say what? Oh no, you're just crazy. You're processing information according to a persecutory delusion, and that will set up some pretty elaborate scenarios too to get you thinking of it. That's the funniest part about it. And targets will move in and out of this whole thing too. That's the wonderful world of gaslighting. All right, you'll get attacked one day; it'll be everywhere. Okay, you can't get away. It's all over the place. There's no getting away from it, right? You got the repairman. You've got the lady down at the grocery store, right? You've got the random jogger, right? The homeless guy picking through the garbage. They've all got something to say to you. The people are whispering and pointing and laughing at you, right? The people at work are talking in code and everything. Oh, nothing. Oh, nothing. And then in the meantime, you got to try and figure out what you did wrong. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do wrong? If you're lucky, they'll give you some disinformation at that point. With a wonderful opportunity for manufactured justification, right? But it'll become even more elaborate, and I've talked about that before. That most people won't make it. Right, you start out with personal info and a little bit of street theater, subtle innuendos, right? Little coincidences, some silent stuff, maybe people talking in code, playing little games, and then they'll step it up. The directed conversations will become more aggressive. Not before they have this attitude around you, though. They're just kind of avoiding you, giving you the silent treatment, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you'll go to the restaurant and everybody will order the same thing as you and laugh, and you'll have that objector, the person that's supposedly defecting from the hive to get up and look at you, maybe with tears in their eyes, says, "I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't." And you're like, "Are you really all in on this?" Some of them are hazed out. The other people are laughing, looking at you. You know. It gets that crazy. They're breaking into your house. They want you to move into that place of irrational paranoia, right? Because it's unavoidable. And then it becomes more hateful. And you get threats. You get little directed conversations with themes, and we're gonna give them cancer. And of course, then you got all the accusations of why they can do it, why they have the right to drug you, to break into your house, to assault you, to tamper with your personal property, to do all that stuff. And of course, it's always something horrible. Of course, then you have to wonder what extent they're going to go to, because nothing's off the table now. You're the menace to society, right? And everybody believes the lie, and a lot of targets will become emotional because they really thought that the people around them genuinely cared about them. I can't believe that they believe this disinformation campaign. You don't believe it, do you? You know I'm a good person. Of course, they're gonna eat that up. They love the emotional reaction. Yeah, they love the theatrics. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Jose Gomez says, Dr. D, as you already know, targeted individuals are set up. And I was wondering, what are the chances that we will ever clear our names? I was framed, and of course, and no one believes. Why is entrapment tossed out? Well, if I remember correctly, you were accused of abusing your daughter or something like that. I'm pretty sure I'm right about it. It's classic. It's a classic game. There was a guy that I knew when I dated his daughter, and he was actually a cop, and he was accused of that, and it never, he ended up eventually committing suicide, and they tortured him for years and years and years. Horrible. He never, there was no proof. Of course, once something like that comes out about somebody, people are looking for somebody to vent on. People, and that's another thing. That's, the spiritual dimension keeps people in a state of agitation, where they're even though they get what they think they want, it's not enough. Even for the people who are, in the upper echelon, they got all the stuff. They've got the house, they've got the 5-car garage, they've got the pool in the backyard and everything. But it's not enough. It's like the things that were done to Solomon in the Bible. He had all that wealth and everything, but he was depressed. He didn't see what he had, and it was, well, I'm just going to die and leave it. It's not worth anything. That's demonic. And they keep people in a place where they're dissatisfied, and then they'll throw you out there. You better watch it now. And then that's those are the people that think they're on the top, right? They get to look around. They buy the Corvette just to piss off the people in the neighborhood. They're not even happy. You got the other people who are really mad, and there you are. Oh yeah, there comes the wrath, and they'll puke it all out over you. It's like the the perps that come in here And it's like, why did you, there's got to be something else for you to do right now, right? There's got to be some better option, that you could be engaged in. If you're not a targeted individual, what are you doing here? Are you really bored, or did you break your leg? Or are you in a cast or something? Your vehicle broke down. All your friends go on vacation. What the hell are you doing in here? You know what they're doing. They're feeding, right? They've got to puke it out on you. They've got to regulate themselves. They have to self-medicate. They have to steal your virtue by persecuting you. They have to suck some blood. They've got to make themselves feel better by looking at you in your moment of discomfort and affliction. It's sick. It is. But as far as your question, clearing your name, well, it depends on what you're dealing with, Jose. I mean, like I just illustrated, you're in a community of people who have latched onto you as a scapegoat. It doesn't even have to be legitimate. Target, once when you're dealing with demonic hive, when you're dealing with the manipulation, when you're dealing with the puppet masters of this world, they can control you. It doesn't even have to be that way. They don't even have to convince people that you're some kind of deviant or drug dealer or rapist or molester or so. They can just use the correlation effect. They can make someone feel agitated when a person comes around and then throw little thoughts in their mind. There's something about that person. Every time I'm around them, it's just, they ruin the atmosphere. Get away from us. You're a disease. And they'll get them to think that. And then if they throw information in there that's just icing on the cake. They don't need that. If you're really a targeted individual, you could move to Greenland or whatever. It wouldn't matter. They'd just start the same thing over. There's that person again. Oh yeah, I don't know about that person. Something about them, and they're being manipulated. You go to church or something like that, and you find out who all the tares are awful quick if you're a targeted individual. They're waiting. That's why they're there. These people have a job to do. Everybody's being processed. But I don't know. I mean, you could try to move. I mean, it depends. But if it's, if you're not on paper or anything like that, there wouldn't be any reason why you couldn't. And if somebody else started up with that, if you did move or something else, that's only proof that it's demonic. There's a lot of targets. I mean, aside from all the falsified documents and all that stuff to get their neighbors in on it or whatever they're dealing with, a lot of times there isn't any evidence. This has nothing to do with that. And there's the next contradiction. I've mentioned that a million times. That what targets deal with, they get harassed. Well, we know your secrets. We know it, and they'll use the street theater and all that stuff. And then you get something, where they're looking for a murderer, or a child disappears. And did you get the Amber Alert? Gee, I wonder what happened. Well, they know all that other stuff. They don't know that, huh? Inconsistency, right? There's that guy that's been convicted of rape, 3 times. He's out on probation again, and we're not going to go after him. We're going to go after you, right? They know the demonic hive. These people that are possessed, and not everybody is. Some of them are just possessed in a way where they don't even know it, because that's how you create this menagerie. That's how you create the illusion that you're the freak, and they're normal. We're normal people. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in an afterlife. We don't believe in God or Jesus or the devil or anything. Or what's wrong with you? Or maybe they do believe it, or they're saying that they believe it, and they say, you must have done something really bad. That's what happened, and you need to repent. You're a bad person, because God doesn't afflict good people. This is what Job dealt with, right? If you were really, doing what you're supposed to be doing, you wouldn't be afflicted. But that's the turn. That's the switch in this world. This is exactly the opposite. The evil people get left alone. The people that conform, they get left alone. The real offenders, they get left alone. Well, we don't know. Oh, well, let's give them due process. Well, we can't do that. Would be illegal. We got to give him rights. We got to put Dennis Rader in a room where he's not, attacked by anybody in his jail, time that he's doing, and give him 3 meals a day. And he's not dealing with food tampering. Nobody's, attacking him. He's not getting the treatment. He hung a little girl from a pipe and masturbated while she was in the throes of death. And nobody knew. Nobody had any idea that the old Blue Book Dennis up there in Wichita, Kansas, was murdering old women and children and dressing up, in their underwear in his off time in the basement, taking pictures of himself. We don't know anything about that, but we know you did. We know all about you. Oh yeah, even if it's true or not. No, it's all inconsistent. It's all obvious. And some people know, and some people don't. There's the perfectly possessed. There's the people that they just don't know. They have no idea. They're like little automatons. They're not the demoniac or the person scratching themselves and cutting themselves with razor blades or whatever. With all these disorders, they just flip in and out of this whole thing. They've created a way to process everybody. And you either see what's going on or you don't. And right now, this whole thing, the whole world that you're living in, at the root, you're dealing with demonic oppression. You're dealing with influences that are spiritual. And it goes all the way down. It starts out with the leaders. It starts out with the secret societies that go all the way back to ancient Egypt, when the principalities and powers were handed over the nations. And that's where you get all this stuff, this hidden knowledge and secret wisdom, this, the mystical stuff and Rosicrucianism. And now they're going to bring in the golden age, right? Here we are. Oh yeah, we're going to fly to Mars, and we're going to grow moon tomatoes, and it's going to be wonderful. And robots are going to do all this stuff. And oh, really? Really? Okay. Yeah. But really, they're just creating more slaves. Really, they're just poisoning the planet. They don't think God can clean this place up, because they believe that if they do all that, and they do so much evil, and they get so many people, that God will just back off and say, okay, well, I'm okay. We're going to have to change the plan here. They tell them that stuff. That guy that was defecting from Satanism, he was told that. Because, of course, if the devil's real, God's real. And so, if he came to his senses and said, okay, well, you're going to give me all this power and money, and I'm going to be, a high-ranking member in your order, but what is going to happen after this? I'm going to go to hell, aren't I? Oh, no. See, what we're going to do is we're going to make everything so crazy. We're going to poison the planet, do all these horrible things. God's going to have to change his mind. You're worried about something that's not going to happen. You see, you're really, you're saving people. You're not really corrupting the earth. You're not, furthering anybody's judgment. You're not gonna be judged for it. Another delusion. They're bringing in a golden age because they believe the polytheistic mythos that the Christ is just one of the options, right? It's like the Mormonism, where Satan is just the brother of Jesus, right? He was the rightful ruler, at least in his mind, and now he's launched an assault. That's nuts. Christ is not like anyone else. He's part of the Trinity. He's the second member of the Trinity. He's the manifested image of God on the earth. It's ridiculous. Stuff is spiritual. Okay, let's see who's out there. Steve the Pigeon, welcome. Too many care for power and money. This is from Steve the Pigeon. Even if it means screwing someone over, yeah, yeah, yeah. Rather than to create a better world, oh, they want the yeah. Well, of course, it's got to fit in to the little scheme that's been presented to them. Because of course, they're not going to give them a legitimate option. It's just like the perps, right? Oh, yeah, you're gonna rule and reign for now, but here's what you got to do to do it. You got to screw some people over. You got to torture this targeted individual to get it. Yeah. Or if you want to feed, if you want to regulate, you don't want to feel that those negative emotions. Go attack this person. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's never you can see the lie. It's just not a legitimate scenario. If they were really happy, if they really had all the stuff they want to convince you they've got, they wouldn't have to do this stuff. Later, ooh, I hate to think about that. Not going to be good. Yeah, Mr. Beachwalker says BTK was a church going man. It was on a neighborhood watch team. Women said they felt safe around him. Goes to show that people can hide their real name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but my point is if this whole thing was consistent, right, the people like that would be on the list, right? It's not. Targets who are dealing with higher forms of harassment, he usually haven't done anything. They got to dig something up or make something up just in order to justify what they're doing. Yeah, BTK, yeah. I ain't even going to go there. Oh, see, he's one of them. That's one of they're not going to attack their own, right? They're the fact that they are trying to convince targeted individuals we're the good people, we're the normal people, we're the sane people. You guys are the bad people. Oh, whatever the case is, like with Jose or other targets, Nicholas Bosserman or other people that have dealt with this stuff that have come out and talked about it, is they get accused of all these things, but the people that are really out doing it, they don't. There's nothing comes their way. They're on a map. They're multiple time offenders. They're well known in the community for what they don't experience any persecution at all because they're just part of it. Right. And that's the thing. Because you're being processed, you're dealing with all hell breaking out because you have the choice. Are you gonna conform? Are you gonna be one of them? It's like those targeted individuals. Well, I could see this stuff is evil, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe in Jesus. Or, well, you're one of them now, and you're not even getting anything out of it, unless you're just faking that you are a targeted individual. I think some of them are. I always take every opportunity that I can to thin out the herd. A lot of people don't like that. I'm not trying to. If I was trying to grow a channel and make a bunch of money like I get accused of doing, I would have all kinds of little videos and have a real nice little freak show for everybody, because that's a lot of it is just that. You see those channels that have, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people or more, but they only have like, 3 to 500 views maybe per video, if that. How's that possible? Because a lot of people will just tune in to watch it, to watch the freak show, right? I even suspected that on some of my live streams before my YouTube accounts were hacked, that I was getting like almost 2,000 views on some of them. I'm not saying it's not, I don't know, legitimate, but you have to wonder, because some of these guys that have these channels out there pumping out disinformation, some of them are belching and stuff like that on their videos that they could edit. They don't even edit it out. It's ridiculous. They forget what they're talking about. They're doing, and they have all these other videos, and what is just a freak show. They don't have any information for anyone. It's just nothing but disinformation. It's just a freak show. Oh, gangstalking isn't spiritual. No, no, no. It's no. You're oh gosh, yeah. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the FBI, and all the private investigators decide to come after you. So you're driving down your the highway, the 4-lane highway in your town, making videos of all these people that are chasing you, and they're all working for the FBI because they want to freak you out before they go to lunch. The whole world government has been activated against you so they can be on your channel. But the devil, the demons, all that stuff that would actually logistically explain this without the government spending $1 million a day to harass you, all that's not part of it though. Give me a break. I've talked to a lot of people like that. What did they do to you? Oh, you wouldn't believe what they did. I was 300 miles away from home, and I went into the store, and they started in on me with the directed conversations and whistling, and they had this one phrase that I've heard everywhere. Okay, I believe you, but do you think the government followed you there? What do you think they just what? They opened up a porthole with CERN or something, and they had all their operatives call up, and then set this thing up so when you walked in there to get a pack of gummy bears, they were waiting. How much money did that cost them? What'd they get out of it? Oh, I don't know, but it sure scared me. Oh yeah, okay, come on. There's more to this. Okay. Oh, Nicholas Boserman, great to see you. He says, I think the son of Sam might have been a V2K victim. Yeah. Yeah, he was being tortured by demons at the very least, in my opinion. Who knows? Who's to say? That's a good example. And he was talking about feeling like and I'm not justifying anything like that. I mean, the guy, he obviously made the wrong choices, but he was dealing with the neighborhood campaign. I think there was probably some demonic stuff in that one, if you really want my opinion, but it is what it is. It's all connected. Okay. Dublin Fitzpatrick says some Christians don't believe in the Trinity. I didn't even know there was a debate concerning the Trinity. Well, that's funny. Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't know about until you get into some of these places and you learn about the doctrines that they hold to and the creedal statements of faith that they have. It's like, what? What's your but that's I'm not going to take and judge anybody over that. That's part of the ignorance. That was kind of what I was talking about earlier. When you have the John 6 debate, for example, where people are debating on whether individuals are being unconditionally elected or whatever, but it's not that. It was Jesus was telling people that he came from the Father and they did not know who he was because they did not learn of the prophets and of God, right? And what was that? It was all the prophecies. And as far as the Hebrew perspective, they had what Michael Heiser would illustrate as the two powers, where the angel of the Lord would depart and somebody would still be talking to the Hebrews, or the vice versa, or the imagery of the glory of God mixed with the human being, and so on and so forth. So when Jesus was talking to the people in John 6, he was illustrating that he comes from the Father. He was trying to tell them who he was, right? It had nothing to do with unconditional election or people that were, his sheep, and other people weren't drawn to him, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you think. I had that experience when I started going to church. The first church I went to was a Calvinist church, and I was like, what the hell are you people talking about? Oh, no, you're not dealing with the devil. That's God. Yeah, the devil is just his little pawn. No, he's manipulating him around like a little puppet. The devil's not thinking this stuff up. It's God. He's just tricking him into doing all these things to you. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? But yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff out there. Yeah, there is. Yeah, well, there is. If you want to learn about the Trinity, I would suggest Dr. Michael Heiser. He's the best on that, or a good one, if nothing else. Okay. Yeah. Where the doll stands dollhouse is I've only met one person open to the principalities and powers aspect of it. Yeah, well, there's a huge agenda out there to obfuscate the spiritual reality of not only gangstalking, but of everything. It's like I said earlier, you are, you're valuable. You're a soul. You're not, it's not like these people, well, you've lost your soul. They are lost. If that's a good question too. It's like as far as these people you're dealing with, when do you get to the point of no return? When are people? I don't know, because there are people out there that come out of this stuff too, but you just don't know. And that goes into the question: what are they getting out of it? Well, there's probably a lot. Because the confusing aspect is when people talk about the spiritual vampires or individuals who are being attacked. Well, they're feeding on the targets. Well, so what? They're the only people that they can feed on? Well, no, it's more of an illusion, right? Exactly what they're getting out of this stuff. Well, there's there's a way that things work. We'll just put it that way for now. And like I've mentioned before, you're missing out on this world, the temporary physical world that is fallen and waiting for the redemption, waiting for the adoption. Like the Bible talks about the fact that creation, it groans. Everybody is waiting for the adoption, and that's in Romans 8:23, the redemption. Christ redeemed everything, right? But it's not yet. It's not yet, because even though the work is accomplished, we are waiting for Jesus to return. And when he returns, there's going to be what? There's going to be a rapture and a resurrection. And if you're alive, you're going to get a glorified body. That's illustrated in 1 Corinthians 15:52, 1 Thessalonians 4:16, Matthew 24:31, 2 Thessalonians 2:1, all of it. And then when he returns, then there could be a little bit of a process involved in that, but it's all going to be renewed. It's like when Jesus took that ball of dirt and spit and made an eyeball for somebody. He's not worried about any of this stuff. He could fix it all, but it's not done yet. We're waiting for that. You got 50 to another 100 years if you're going by the Dead Sea Scroll calendar that predicted, the Messiah to the day, along with the prophecies of Daniel. It's like the Magi that came to visit Jesus when he was born. The convergence of Jupiter and Regulus, Revelations 12, right? Tishri 1, September 11th, AD 3. At least that's what you're going to look into the star charts and find. How'd they know that? Because they were taught of God and other prophets, right? Yeah. There's probably around another 50 years. I'm not saying I know. That's just what the Dead Sea Scroll calendar is communicating. We're on the final 50-year period as of this year, right? And when you look at all the things that are happening, it fits. It completely fits together. We could be the final generation. This whole thing could be over even sooner than that. And after that, well, there's no going back then. It's gone forever. For anybody who doesn't make that choice, it's over. And you're not just going to be annihilated. You can think what you want about that, but I wouldn't take my chance with it. The Bible doesn't seem to be communicating that. When you get into the parable of rich man and Lazarus, you have the Jews being illustrated because, of course, now the Gentiles were being included, right? Lazarus was, the poor beggar was now being comforted, And the rich man who had everything, he had all the blessings of God. In other words, the Jewish people, now it was their turn to suffer, but everybody can be included in salvation. But the illustration there also was the afterlife, right? The rich man, says, what is this place? And he went to drink the water, and he couldn't drink it. He wanted to eat the food. He couldn't eat the food. He wanted Lazarus to come over and put his finger on his tongue, with some wine or something to alleviate the pain, the heat. He could feel he wasn't just gone. Yeah, they're stealing a lot. They're feeding on a lot. Everybody is being processed. Anybody who doesn't make that choice, or even targeted individuals who don't see the spiritual application of this, they're going to lose it all. People get angry with me, and hey, you can believe whatever you want. Later, you're going to know I'm right. I'm taking that chance. It's like some of the perps that I deal with. Oh, you think you hate me now? Just give it some time. You're never going to forget, all the stuff I tried to tell you. I told you to back down. I told you to be cool. I told you that this was wrong. You're getting suckered by the devil, and they're going to have to remember it. No getting out of it. You can't lose when you pick God. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Healthy Mind says, so it's not that we're too weak or flawed. It's because we're up against the whole. Yeah, that's the delusion, right? That's the gaslighting, right? You're a second-class citizen. You're the odd person out. You're the freak. All that stuff about eugenics and everything, all that's just demonic, right? Is it any coincidence that they went after the Jews with that, right? What does it say in the Bible? That the dragon went and poured out, the water came out of his mouth. He chased the Jews, the seed of the woman, right? That was Jesus, right? The woman that gave birth to the man-child, the Messiah. Who's that? That's the lineage of Abraham, right? Abraham, Isaac, ben Joseph, ben David. Who'd they target with eugenics? They're human garbage, right? We've got to get rid of them. They were killed in ovens. And experimented on it, tortured. You think that's a coincidence? You see the similarities there? Yeah. It has nothing to do with that. And they're all being condemned. And the people that were involved in that didn't ask for forgiveness or repent, they're going to have to think about that in hell forever. That'll be part of their torment. Why wouldn't it? Derek Jackson says, what's the difference between hell and the lake of fire? Well, that's a good question, because it talks about the hell being thrown into the lake of fire. So you have what people refer to as Sheol or Tartarus. So there's different levels, believe it or not. Okay. Tartarus, or the abyss, the abuso, was the worst. The watchers and the spirits that rebelled are held there. The other ones are going to be left out to run around. That's who you're dealing with now. Okay. So it's not just one thing, but after that, after the millennium, right? The lake of fire is the final destination. So it's just like saying hell's going to be made worse. So you've got Sheol, and then you've got the final judgment that comes after the 1,000-year period. And that's when you got hell being thrown into the lake of fire. In other words, it's just that much worse, right? You go from the frying pan to the fire. And that's an eternal, the place where you're not getting out, period. Okay. And as far as I know, a lot of people will debate, and they'll say, what's the second death? People are annihilated. I don't know. It doesn't communicate that the way I'm reading it. And if that's true, wonderful. I'm not going to get, it's not like I want people to be tortured forever. Okay. It's not something I like to think about, but I'm not going to tell anybody why would Jesus, I'm not going to tell anybody. It's just, you're just going to die and everything will be over. You're going to be annihilated because I don't know that. And why would God warn people? Why would Jesus warn people so many times with so many illustrations that they don't want to end up in Gehenna or hell or the lake of fire where the worm dieth not, and so on. So why would there, if it's just a flash in the pan, there's nothing to, why would you warn anybody about that? You wouldn't. Hold on, guys. I've got a battery situation here. So if this thing goes out all of a sudden, it's not me. Okay. I had to. Wow. This StreamYard takes the battery right out of your phone here. Sorry about that. Well, Dublin Fitzpatrick says it's a huge debate amongst Christians. It is. There's a debate, and that goes into how you're interpreting the words from this age to the next age, or the word olam or elom, which, even if you were going to look at it that way, as far as the punishment of the afterlife, you would be looking at the ages similar to what is described in the Dead Sea Scroll, which are around 2,000 years, with the exception of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah on earth, right? But we'll just say it was. We'll say it was, the 1,000 years and the age after that, or whatever. Is that, do you want to go be tormented in hell for 1,000 years or 2,000 years? I don't think so. And plus, it doesn't make sense, right? Because you also have the beast and the false prophet being thrown into the lake of fire before everyone else. So what does that mean? Everybody has to stay in hell and be tormented in hell for 1,000 years, and the false prophet and the beast, they just get to die right away. See, it doesn't make sense, right? And it also talks about being beaten with many or fewer stripes according to the light that an individual has. God knows how to judge them. The way I'm seeing it, I wouldn't take a chance. And if you're just going to form your theology around a word like death, you are missing all the illustrations that the Bible gave, right? Because if you can't just use that word and create a doctrine, you have to look at all the illustrations, all the warnings, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can't just use the word death and say it's over because it says second death. Okay, well, yeah, there's a little more to it. Okay. Steve Wells, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, I was going to make you a moderator as well. I couldn't find one of your comments, so glad to see you here. Targeted Patton says, do you believe that people use words to cast spells? Well, that's an interesting question. Because if I want to get into your head, what do I do? What happens to targets when they're dealing with street theater or directed conversations? They're within earshot of the perp, aren't they? That's almost a type of spell right there. But as far as witchcraft, as far as spells and stuff like that, really, I'm not saying I'm really educated as far as all that. I've looked into it a little bit, but most of that has to do with people, engaging in a lifestyle that is outside of what God approves. That's why in the rituals they have, the spirit cooking and eating, excrements or blood, or making oaths, or the child sacrifice, or some of the other stuff that Aleister Crowley and those guys got involved in. And that's what people do as far as getting into that. And then of course it's like selling themselves over, right? They're lost souls at that point. They've kind of sold themselves to the devil, and some of that stuff is just psychological. But when you get into the witchcraft, they will have that stuff. But as far as what I've experienced, they will just try to trick you into believing lies, because most of that is an illusion. All this stuff is propagated an illusion, the illusion of power with witchcraft, or the illusion, that you have this wisdom or knowledge or power or whatever. All of it's just demonic, right? And the fact that these people believe they're getting something is another lie. And really, they're just little puppets. They're just being, moved around like little sock puppets. And really, the ones that are doing the work, the ones that are, the fingers, if you will, that are afflicting people, are coming from the spiritual dimension. And the real tragedy is that people believe these lies and illusions, and they will go along with it for either because they're deceived or because they're afraid. And then they're condemned. So the real spell is the fact that they're believing the lies, right? That they believe the witchcraft and all that. That's really representative of the spell that they're under. They're bewitched. They're not really bewitching anyone else. They're the ones that are bewitched, right? And when the demons get involved and start playing games, when you get around, it's like targeted individuals. They get around someone like that, and of course, I'm going to put a spell on you, or whatever they're going to do, and they do this weird stuff, and then things start happening to you. I've dealt with that. What's the lie? That it's them. It's not them. They're just little puppets. Who's really doing it? The demons are the ones doing it. The spirits are the ones afflicting the individual. Okay? But the menagerie is created to deceive everybody. And they're the ones doing it. The only difference is that the people involved in that stuff, they're not experiencing the afflictions yet. They will. It's just not yet. And they're going to have to pay later. They've conformed. But as far as, somebody casting a spell on you, really the only thing you have to worry about is whether you're gonna either serve God or you're gonna serve the devil, right? Because you get people that talk, "Oh, I'm immune. I don't have to worry about." But really, when you look into their life, they're serving the devil in a different way, right? That's it. That's all it really amounts to. Witchcraft is real, but not in the way people believe it is. So if you're in Christ or whatever, you might come under an attack of the enemy, but it's not because of some human being. That's just a conduit. That just puts you within earshot. That's the way that the spiritual dimension interacts with people. And when targeted individuals are being attacked and they're dealing with all these things around them, it's no different. That's just them reaching out and putting their fingers into your world through the mechanisms of this physical dimension. And the people that are being used are their little sock puppets. They're their fingers, right? They're using that to get to you. They're using their voice box and their throat and their tongue to speak at you through these people. When someone is dealing with the higher forms of harassment as a targeted individual, and someone comes up to you and tells you something that you dreamt about that nobody would know about, you're not talking to a human being at that point. You're talking to somebody who's controlled demonically on whatever level. When you're dealing with someone who's involved in soothsaying or something like that, and they have all this knowledge, or that's a demonic spirit that has infused itself within the life of this individual. Okay? You forget about the witchcraft. Forget about all that. Yeah, Mr. Beach Walker makes a good point. When someone speaks something against you, you have to say, "I do not receive that." Well, you don't. I mean, you don't have to say anything to them. Technically, you just have to serve God, and you have to do what He wants. He's ultimately in control of everything. If He allows an attack to come at you, that's just a test of your faith. Okay, that's all it is. But no, you don't want to receive it, because if you do, that's like believing it. Right. And then of course, that's the trick. That's how they bewitch you. So they've been bewitched. They believe the lie. They've been, indoctrinated by this whole thing. They think they're witches and they've got power and all that and everything, but really they're just damned. Right. They're just forfeiting their eternal future, their lost souls at that point. But when they come and attack the target, or the people that they infect with their disease, then they become bewitched. They have to receive it too. So there's truth to it, because you don't want to receive it. You don't want to believe it. They want you to be paranoid. And then, of course, it's just like all the other things that that the targets deal with. Of course, it has reciprocity. They want to make you believe it. They want to freak you out. They want to get you worried. They want to, get you to believe you got to start burning different, sweet grass or whatever, sage or all this other stuff, and go to the Santeria priest or whatever they're going to try and do to you. Or you got to get delivered by the guru. You just need Jesus. Okay, you need God, and you need to be doing what he wants you to do. Okay, you don't worry about anything else. Well, I don't know. Targeted Pat says, I do believe that Jesus Christ had the right idea, but I feel he wanted us to follow his lead and worship God within ourselves, not worship him. No, that's wrong. That's absolutely unbiblical. I'm not trying to attack you, Targeted Pat, but you need to read your Bible a little more often. When people worship Jesus, he did not rebuke them. He didn't rebuke it at all. In fact, when you get into Psalm 82 or all the other things, everything has been put under his feet, his lead. Jesus was more than just a human being. That's the spirit of the Antichrist. People, when people, they don't understand what the Antichrist is. They've got this Hollywood version of what the Antichrist. Oh, he's going to be this guy that comes out of Europe that gives everybody a microchip, and no, the spirit of the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is somebody who denies that God came in the flesh, that God had a son, right? That Jesus Christ is God, right? The second person of the Trinity, right? And what does it say all over that shrine up there on the Temple Mount? God has no son, right? The cosmic geography up on the Temple Mount, the seed of the earth. Jesus was just a prophet. Anybody that denies the Son doesn't have the Father, right? And that the Son came from the Father, and that the Father has put everything underneath the Son's feet. That's the Antichrist spirit. If you just believe that Jesus was just some guy and that he just worshiped God, then that's an Antichrist spirit that's trying to get into your life. You don't want to propagate that. Jesus wasn't just some guy who figured out who God was. Okay. If that was true, then he wouldn't be able to die for the sins of humanity. All that stuff goes together. Well, Targeted Pat says, but I accept the possibility that the Bible was created to twist the truth for power and control. Well, you can believe whatever you want to believe, Targeted Patton. How are you going to go to heaven then? If either it's true or it's not. That's really the plight of anybody. That's the processing that everybody goes through, right? Because it really doesn't. If we all get into the argument where it's all ambiguity, well, it's your truth, my truth. Maybe some of these people tried to figure out the truth, and some of it's true. And we got a bunch of dehydrated people in the desert writing the Bible, and who knows what's true and what isn't. That nothing's true, because it's either one or the other. Either the reptilians and the government are oppressing people, and we don't know, and hopefully we'll make it, or Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And anybody who believes in him will never die and have eternal life and be glorified at his return. Either he's coming back or he's not. So, that's when you get into archaeology. And that's when you start looking at if I was you, Targeted Pat, and I would start looking at the Bible more and, Google, proof that the Bible is true, prophecies that have come to pass, archaeological evidence, stuff like that. Because if, like I said, if you're just out there, I believe that the Bible was created to, you can believe a lot of things, but when you get into the proof, well, that's like the stalemate of, that's the stalemate of the science, right? You get into that, and it's just evolution. Well, I don't know who made. Maybe it was aliens. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe we're just all supposed to be good to each other, and the aliens are our space brothers, and they're going to come back and take all our nuclear weapons away. And Jesus, he was just a good guy. you can't have your cake and eat it too, man. I would have to disagree with you respectfully on that one, Targeted Patton. And the problem with it is, for people who have that ambiguity, is that if the Bible is true, because there is no ambiguity in the interpretation of the Bible, anybody who believes that is going to go to hell. If it's true. If it's not true, well, it doesn't matter. It's like I was talking to another guy. He was talking about evolution and everything, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're right, then I'm just going to die. I'll just be dead, and it won't matter, But if if that's not true, if you live your life like there isn't a God and find out there is, that's not good. It's like Calvinism. Well, if everybody was just unconditionally elected, and either you're one of the lucky ones or you're not. Well, if I believe that, it doesn't change anything, right? So what's the point in holding to it? It's the law of zero effect. If I believe something like that everything was ordained and there's destiny and there's nothing it wouldn't matter. But if it's false and I believe it, then it matters, because I believe the lie. That's hilarious. Okay, Mats and Miles. Oh, you guys are having a conversation here. Oh, I see where you're coming from, Targeted Pet. I'm not trying to cause conflict, but tarot card readers have accurately prophecies. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, Targeted Patton, and that's what I've talked about all along. Okay, that's what deceives the secret societies. Now you're seeing what has deceived the elite. You've got a window into how they have been deceived. I've been dealing with this stuff since I was a kid. Oh yeah, decades in advance, hundreds of years in advance. And they'll do that. That's Deuteronomy 13. That God will allow those things to come to pass to test people. Everybody's being processed. Oh yeah, you get into the story of Paul and Silas in Philippi. That lady, she was doing the same thing. And then, Paul came along and she followed him around for 3 days. This guy knows the way to eternal life, right? And he cast the demon out of this woman, and she couldn't tell the future anymore. They ended up in jail. Oh, yeah. You want accurate prophecy, don't go to those little flim-flam fake prophets that are, running around on YouTube and saying that they're, hearing from God or whatever. And then, it was wrong again. And then you get all these people that are, this guy was a false prophet. And, well, no kidding. Okay, God doesn't really work that way. But when it comes to the dark side, oh yeah, so they'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. I've run into that before. I've had people tell me vehicles that I was going to be driving, years in advance. I've had them do it. Yeah, that's proof of the dimensional perspective and the truth about the kingdom of darkness. When people get involved in witchcraft and the secret societies and Rosicrucianism and all, that's why they're bewitched, because they have that control. And if you'd watch that video, multidimensional gangstalking, you'll be able to see that's why they use astrology and all those things. They have a plan, and anybody that is saved, by Christ, where they get plucked out of it. They've got a plan for you. They've got a plan for everybody. They've got this whole thing mapped out. Okay, God can intervene and do whatever he wants. Okay, they are the cowboys of destiny until that happens. And when you're dealing with people who are doing the tarot cards, oh yeah, sometimes people are just playing around with that, and they become, they just looks like something that's just a joke, but it's not. It's real. That you're dealing with information that comes from the spiritual dimension. That you don't even want to play with. That's demonic. Yeah, Yeah, they'll play games like that. There's different speculation as to whether that's divine manipulation or whether they know or whether it doesn't matter. So when you get into to all that stuff, you're going to see that. That's how these people become deceived. And then they've said, oh, I don't know. It looks like all these people in Christianity are just a bunch of hypocrites. These people know what's going on. Well, God has set it up that way because he wants people to be processed and that they have a relationship with him and they have faith and they seek him out and they believe. Not some guru who's just going to give them all the answers. And they're going to have to do it in the light of the fact that it doesn't look like there's justice in the world. And then you get into all these secret societies. They've got all the money, they've got all the power. It looks like it's completely flipped around, and they know the future. Oh my gosh! Oh, the Bible's got to be false. Oh, these Christians are weak. No, that's the deception. That's the strong delusion that the Bible talks about. Right. If you don't love the truth, what's going to happen? He's got it. The delusion all set up right for you. And they are the masters of it. Oh, they'll tell you. They'll tell you what's going. That's how you get into what targets are dealing with when people know where they're going to be. How'd they all know? How is it set up? How is it logistically possible that I'm dealing with all this stuff? How do these people know this stuff? They got to have cameras. They got cameras that, well, sometimes it works that way, right? Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes you're dealing with spiritual stuff. They'll tell you what's going to happen. They'll give you dreams about things that are going to happen. That's where you get people who believe they're a prophet or something. No, God didn't give you that dream. Oh, he had to have. No, he's not the only one. And you're going to have to figure out what's going on. And the only way you're going to do that is if you draw near to God and you believe what he says and have a relationship with him. Otherwise, you ain't going to know. You won't know up from down. And they're powerful, and they have all that power. They will do it. They will deceive. They've deceived most of the world up to this point. Don't believe it. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Truth comes to light, says tarot card readers get their info from demons and familiar spirits. This is exactly what happens. It's exactly. You know what's going on. You are in the truth and you are in the light. That's that's good that you got your name like that. It's good that you know that. Yep, that's what it is. Okay. Derek Jackson says, Christ says, my sheep listen to my voice. It's not meant for everyone. Blessed, excuse me, I'm gonna kind of jumping around, who receive but put it into action. Well, yeah, if you're gonna, yeah, well, there's a process that goes on there, right? Because you're weak. The Bible talks about, faith cometh by hearing, right? Hearing what? Hearing the word of God, and then of course you're renewing your mind, right? You're walking with God, and He's gonna use that process to renew you into a place where you are going to be able to put it in action. The deception that comes out nowadays is where people believe that they just have to go get delivered from a demon, and all of a sudden their life is going to be fixed. Right? Oh, I just need to get baptized, or I need to go to this deliverance minister, and then all my problems are going to be as long as I don't mess around with a Ouija board, or go out and have adulterous affairs or whatever. Demons will leave me alone, and I'll go to heaven. There's a lot more to this, and the devil's very tricky, and he's got a lot of little schemes and a lot of little pitfalls out there for everybody, including me. Okay. And if you don't walk through that process and keep on with it, you're not going to make it. And there's a lot of people out there that will confront people, the street preachers, and, oh, you better repent, you're going to go to hell. And they'll walk up to people who are out trying to enjoy themselves, maybe on a weekend or something. But instead of trying to help them and walk with them a little bit or give them some resources to teach, they're just doing it to be sensationalistic. Yeah, well, you're going to do it, but you're not going to be able to do it if you don't go through that process. It's a journey, not a conflated event. Okay, let's see here. Charlie Wilson, they kept trying to get me to read a book about the devil with dark manipulation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be confronted with that stuff left and right. I remember the first experience I ever had was with the dark stuff. Asked me if I wanted to, read the Satanic Bible, seances and all that stuff. I didn't even know. I thought we were just playing games. I had no idea what was going on. And bad things began to happen. Bad stuff started happening. Real bad stuff. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I went, it provoked me to go talk to a minister. I was just, I don't know, I think I was like 13 years old. I said, what the hell's going on? He said, yeah, it's real. You quit messing around with that stuff, boy. You don't play with that stuff, son, ever again. Oh, no, you wouldn't believe the things I've seen. But, you're going to be confronted with that. And some of it's a lot less, sensationalistic. That's the scary stuff. Because when you get into the people preaching sermons that, oh, God wants to bless you. He's going to fix your family. He's going to make you rich. He's going to make you healthy. He's going to do all it. And people start believing in a prosperity gospel. And when it doesn't work because they have false expectations, then they start doubting God. And then the guru comes along from Eastern philosophy or some other type of esoteric, religion or something like that with, some kind of Buddhism mixed in with it or star children or something. And they've never felt better. Oh, I finally feel free. I finally feel I can sleep again at night. Demons just backed off. That's all. And now they're perfectly and totally deceived. Feels good. Doesn't mean it's going to be, though. Okay. Nicholas Boserman says, yeah, an old roommate of mine kept a Satanic Bible on our coffee table. I've read it. I've heard about it. I've stayed away from it. And I've had people try to push stuff on me like that. I had a bad feeling about just get away from that, And there's a lot of people that like to play around with that stuff. It's definitely dangerous, but really, it's that's the more obvious deception. Really, it's the other stuff, like I just mentioned, the stuff that feels good, or the pseudo-Christian cult, like Mormonism or something, right? They're good people. I'm not saying they're, I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying the things that they believe about God it's a cult. It's not true. Okay, and that's got Freemasonry all over in it. They even have magic underwear and everything. They got all kinds of weird stuff that they believe. But what do they have in their evangelistic process? Because a lot of people will look into it and say, well, you got failed prophecies. You've got all kinds of really bad stuff in your closet. Look at all those bones coming out there. How do you explain that? Well, we can't. We can't explain it. But what we can do is tell you this, that you pray. And if you get that burning in your bosom and you feel good and you start being more moral and, you feel like, being a good little Johnny and a good little Jill, that's proof enough. And so people believe that. But that's not truth. That's not faith. That's has nothing to do with it. That's a feeling. It's a facade. It's a clever way to deceive someone. It looks good though. Yeah. That's very deceptive. The other stuff is kind of obvious, really. All right. Okay. Well, guys, you see, we kind of talked about a lot here, and we've gone over quite a bit. The theme was people being processed, and the world is a type of processing plant, and I think we've illustrated the fact that at the root of all this, at the axiom, is truth. Okay, I mean, if you if you know the truth about what's going on, you're going to make it. Right, the framework of this whole thing you're dealing with is spiritual. Even if you're in a government program, even if you're being attacked, by whatever, the CIA, the FBI, whoever's involved in it, biker gangs, it doesn't matter. They're the sock puppets. Okay, and as we illustrated with some of Targeted Patent's comments, the secret societies are up on the top of the chain, right? So you could be dealing with the CIA, you could be dealing with the NSA, the FBI, the DHS, the DOD, whatever. You could be dealing with an occult, the witchcraft thing, people messing around with tarot cards, all that stuff. Then you're going to be dealing, just with the framework of this world and the social dynamics that are involved. And you're the odd person out. Now you've experienced that isolation, right? The excommunicado, and that's ultimately spiritual manipulation, right? People are ideologically possessed. You get into the social dynamics of this whole thing, the herd mentality, the group think that has become even more prolific with the infestation of Marxism. It's a spider web you're dealing with. It's they want to hide the spiritual connection, not only to gangstalking, but all this stuff that's going on at all costs. Period. And anytime you separate this and isolate it, you've got a very dangerous equation. Because what happens to targets? They become very aggressive. They become misguided. They don't know what they're dealing with. They have false expectations. They can be manipulated. You have to know the logistics of this. It's planned. You're set up. You're attacked. You're traumatized. And then you have, the feeding frenzy. You have the delusions. You have people who are being driven nuts, right? The whole world turns against the target, and they want you to turn on yourself, and they want you to start reading into everything. They move from environmental tyranny to propositional tyranny, and then you're basically nuts, right? You've given into the gaslighting, all right? You're on the Truman Show. You don't understand how this is working. You're trying to confront family members or, somebody who said something. It's just not going to work. Okay, you have to know what you're dealing with. How is it these people know these things about you? Do they have a camera in your house? Are they hacking your phone? Maybe. Sometimes it works that way. Doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. Some of that can come from the spiritual dimension. And there's that obvious contradiction we talked about, right? Why are they persecuting you? There's plenty of people out there that have done worse. You might want to think about that. Of course, they're not going to do that. Most of the targets haven't even done anything. They've got to make up lies about you, right? You're the little scapegoat. You're living in that artificially created nightmare. And then you got to act artificial. You got to pretend like everything is fine. You're the Hollywood targeted individual. They want to turn everything into something plastic, into a fake existence, because it is anyway. They want you to conform. The illusions are all around you. Oh, the people that I trusted, they believe the lies. Well, could you really? Did they really love you? Are they really capable of it? Because if they don't know Christ, they're not born again, they're going to be manipulated. Period. They're good people. I see what you're talking about. I see that some of the people out there that might not be, I don't know, all out Christians can still be good people, but they're going to be manipulated. they're going to be deceived. They're going to use their tactics against them, and the only one that can stop them from doing that is God himself. And the whole idea of being born again is that we're spiritually disconnected. We're spiritually dead. And anybody who would deny all that stuff does not really have the capacity to even love themselves, let alone love you. And when people are manipulated, they're being manipulated by the best. And this whole world is a menagerie that's set up to obfuscate that spiritual reality. Illusions. Right? You can grow up and do anything, but be genuinely against the lies and the system that is set up to deceive everybody. You can be a fireman. You want to be a doctor? You want to be a psychologist? Oh, you want a priest? You can do it in a specific capacity, as long as you don't say too much. As long as you go along with the demonic doctrine, right? Yeah, you'll have all the YouTube followers. You'll be the most famous preacher in the world. As long as you mix some of this garbage in with it. Illusions all around you. You're the commodity. You're the slab of meat in the processing plant of this world that they are going after you. Okay. They want to take you with them. They want you to be just like them. And in the contradiction that they are spending their God-given time and resources to come after you rather than to do something productive and healthy should be enough evidence to convince you of that. Targets are being sensitized. They're being conditioned. They're being reprogrammed. They're being set up for more delusions. You're crazy. You're not being harassed, right? All these people couldn't be after you. What do you think? You're special? Delusions left and right. And when you get into it, you have to simplify your life. It's really what you have to do. There's a way to solve these things. You want to negate the assault by playing dumb, right? The whole thing is negligible. You're minding your own business, right? The whole setup is a double-edged sword. You're not the aggressor, okay? You have to remember that. And it's going to take faith for you to believe that eventually justice is going to prevail and these people are going to pay, because there's the possibility that you're not going to see that happen. And there's targets out there that have been doing this as long as me or longer that know what I'm saying is right. You have to know it. You don't want to try to solve this because only God can. Okay? And until Jesus Christ returns, the devil's ruling the planet. This isn't about electing the right politicians, even though that might help a little bit. It's bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. The whole place is hijacked. And remember that this requires your participation. When you start getting aggressive, when you start giving in to the tactics, when you let them manipulate you, when you start listening to them, when you're in earshot, when you're looking for it, when you're looking around to see if anybody's watching you or you're listening to the conversations around you don't want to do that. You don't want to believe the lie. And you don't want to be emotional. Paranoia, isolation, character assassination, dysfunction. They want you to internalize this whole thing and believe the lie that you deserve it and they have the right to do it. And that no one's ever going to know. And you're just going to fade out, and everybody's going to believe that you're just a crazy person, right? And you'll just have to live with that stigma forever. That's not true. That's a lie. It's going to come to light. You're not just going to fade out in obscurity. They want to try to believe that they have the right to do this by manufacturing and setting you up and creating that manufactured justification. They want to infiltrate your psyche. They want to reprogram you. They want to give you their virus. It's like I've talked about before. They steal virtue by persecuting you. Right? That's their identity now. That's why they've forfeited normal options to come and spend their God-given time and resources to attack you, because they need it. They have to, because they've got nothing. Like the vampire has no shadow, right? They have to suck the blood. They have to get what they need from something else. And that's what this is about. They don't have it. They can't go out there and enjoy themselves because they're dead. They're twice dead. Some of them. Okay. You got to remember that. They spread their disease by attacking, and some people give into that. It's like a zombie. It's like a vampire. You want to simplify your life and focus on things that you have control over and not give in to their tactics. You want to take the time that you have and educate yourself, worry about your finances, things that you have control over. Don't try to solve it. If there's something that they get their fingers in, sometimes you just have to let it go and back off. Okay? And whatever you do, do not pay attention to the things that they say. It's all garbage. All of it. Lies. It's meant to provoke you. Okay? And you have to know that. Simplify your life, guys. Develop protocols, because if you're trying to solve this, if you're trying to control what's happening, if you're trying to get your life back, in the way that you have to fight them and get them to see things, for the way they should, that's not your job. Okay, that's not possible where you are. And people would say, well, that's fatalistic. Oh, you do whatever you want. I'm just saying that you have to be realistic. If you're one of those targets where you're getting attacked everywhere, and you're getting persecuted in a way, you got workplace harassment, you're getting street theater, you're getting attacked here, you're getting attacked there. It seems like everybody's in on it. Like I said before, your hope is that God is going to come through for you and give you a provision and make a way for you to live in spite of it. Okay, and then after that. That you're going to be part of the adoption. Period. Because this world is but a breath. This life is over very quickly. And the whole idea of this processing, this slaughterhouse that they want to take you with. Okay. And if you're worried about all that stuff that they have control over, they're going to get you. It's hard, I know. It's hard. You just want to be happy. You just want to live your life. You're just trying to survive. God will make a way for you. And if all that stuff was really making them happy, whether it's the big houses or the fancy cars or whatever they're dangling in front of you, why are they doing what they're doing? And it's not that you can't go by a bar on Friday night and see people having fun. It's fun until the hangover comes. Okay? And they've got a big old hangover waiting for them. Yeah. Don't believe the lie. Guys, thanks for coming in and participating. It's been real. As usual, I'd like to thank all the moderators and everybody for obeying the community guidelines. And I'd like to thank everyone who helps support me and the channel. The link is always in the description. If you guys have any ideas for videos or anything that you want me to talk about, put it in the comment section. God bless. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.